Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us as we take a closer look at the new Google Calendar. We are thrilled that the new layout is finally rolling out to NC State, and we're excited to show you some of the new features and also review some other features about the calendar that you may not know about. And we'll start with introductions. My name is Katie McInerney. I'm the training coordinator with the Office of Information Technology. We also have Don Schmidt. He's one of our Google trainers, and he is a subject matter expert on all things Google, but he also teaches the Google Calendar workshops here on campus. So he'll be covering part of the new interface as well. As for what we're going to cover over the next hour, we're going to start with a very brief overview regarding YouTube Live, since I know some of you are new to this platform. We'll also cover the schedule and the specific dates that are going to be very important when it comes to the calendar rolling out to user accounts here on campus. We also wanted to highlight some of the key differences between the current calendar interface and the new interface. And then we'll jump into a live demo, and we'll actually take you on a tour of the new calendar and show you how to create new events, how to manage calendars. We'll show you how to access settings and talk a little bit more in detail about some of your setting options. We will hold questions to the end, and I'll talk to you just a minute about how to use the Q&A Google Doc. And then we'll finally, we'll end the workshop with upcoming training opportunities. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the new calendar, we have several other workshops available to you, along with plenty of other information technology workshops this spring. And of course, contact information so you can stay in touch with us. All right, so as for the question and answer portion of YouTube Live, there isn't an internal component to do Q&A in YouTube. So we have created a Google Doc that everyone should be able to access if you have an NC State account. So you can locate the URL to that shared document below the YouTube video, or you can reference the reminder email that you received earlier this morning. It also has a link to the document. So feel free to open that document in a separate tab or window so you can have access to the document while viewing the video. And feel free to type in your questions whenever they come to mind. We are going to try, like I said earlier, to hold all questions to the end. And there is a slight delay in YouTube when it comes to the time that we are presenting and actually speaking on air to the time that you hear it from the user standpoint. It might be 30 seconds to a minute. So there could be a delay in the time that you write your question and the time that we actually answer it on air. We also value your feedback, and we would love to hear your thoughts about your experience this afternoon, not only for the YouTube platform, but also for the content that we're providing in today's session. So if you have time at the end of today's YouTube Live event, if you can click on the evaluation link in the Q&A document and let us know your feelings about today. And if you have any suggestions for other workshops that you would like to see on our schedule, that's a great way to communicate that to us as well. All right, so we're going to jump right in and start covering the new calendar for you. And we do want to kick off with the schedule. So those important dates that you need to be aware of and when you might be impacted by the new layout. So January 15th was yesterday. So yesterday or today, when you walked in to your office and you opened up your Google account, you may have noticed the new interface became default. And it could take the course of this entire week to roll out to all of the NC State accounts. So if you haven't seen it yet, just be patient. You might see it pop up later on in the week, unless you have already opted out. So if you have decided previously that you don't want to use the new interface until it is moved to all NC State account holders next month, then you will not be impacted by the new view. Now, you do have the opportunity to revert back to the old interface or the classic version of Google Calendar, until February 28th. And we do encourage you to go ahead and start using the new layout if at all possible. Any kind of feedback we can get from you to make sure that your business processes have not been impacted and everything is working as expected, that's going to be really important to our Google service team. So we can communicate that directly to Google and have those issues resolved before the 28th of February. Because on February 28th, that's when every single user here at NC State will be moved over into the new calendar. So we do want to make sure that everyone checks everything out and that your normal business processes are not impacted. If you do notice any issues, you can notify the help desk directly by calling them at 919-515-HELP, or you can email help@ncsu.edu. Later on in the session, Don is going to show you how you can notify Google directly for any issues that you may encounter. And we're going to review these dates at the conclusion of the presentation as well. All right, so what's different? Let's highlight some of the key differences. And we see that looks like some people may have lost sound. I'm going to do a quick sound check to make sure you can hear me again. If someone can type on the document if you're able to hear me very quickly. Oh, being removed, so I think we're all good. Okay, well, let us know definitely in the Q&A document if you do have any issues hearing us, and we'll try to correct those on our end. So going back to some of the key differences between the classic version of Calendar and the new interface. First of all, you're going to notice the sleeker design, and the new design is based on the mobile version. So if you have a personal Google account and you have downloaded the app on your iPhone or Android device, you're going to see a lot of similarities. So you should be pretty comfortable transitioning to the new interface. One main thing that you will notice is the new Create Event action button. So they've pulled this over from the mobile version as well. It's a red circle with a plus sign on it. And that's the most prominent way to create a new event. There's several different ways you can do that, but you will notice that red button is going to stand out. And I'll show you that when we jump into the demo. There's also a nice detailed view for all of your meetings that you can quickly see at quick glance. It's kind of a pop-up window with all of the details for that particular event. So I'll show you that as well. Google has also consolidated all of the calendar settings into one screen, which is such a nice benefit, I think. From the classic version, you don't have to click in different locations depending on what setting you're trying to get to. They can all be found in one place. And so Don is going to walk through all of those settings for you later in the session. There's also a cleaner daily comparison view. So when you're trying to schedule other users for an event, you can see very cleanly and simply when everyone is available. So it makes scheduling with multiple participants a lot easier than it was. Another great enhancement that Google has added is the ability to only view available rooms when you're scheduling a meeting. This is definitely an improvement when you're trying to find a location. Once you find a time that works for all of your guests, finding that room was always a challenge, and you would have to kind of switch back and forth between views and look at the room calendar separately. But now you're able to only see which rooms are available during a particular time. So that is definitely an enhancement that I think you'll benefit from. You'll also notice in the event description that you can now add text formatting options and hyperlinks, another user-friendly feature that's available in the new interface. There's also new modern color options that you can select to view all of your calendars. And finally, one thing that we do want to note here is that labs in the calendar, we haven't noticed that they are supported in the new interface. So for those of you who may not know what labs are basically new features that Google is kind of testing out. So they're kind of in a beta state. And it's up to the user whether or not you want to participate in those labs or if you want to activate those labs. So several people probably didn't even know they exist. But they basically allow the end user to be on the cutting edge of new Google development in each app. And so that's normally something that people are excited about and want to participate in, but we have not seen labs as an option in the new interface. But as soon as we hear an update on those, we'll definitely let everyone know. All right, so now we're ready to dive in and show you a live demo and take you on a tour of the new interface so you can know what to expect in case it hasn't made it to your account yet. So here we have an overview. This is a training account that we're using to test and to show you today. So some things may look a little different than what you're used to seeing in your own account. But first of all, I do want to note that this is the NC State account because of the NC State brick. So that's something that you always want to look at when you're logging in. Make sure you're not in a personal account. You do want to look for that red NC State brick. You can also see our default is 7 days. So that's why it landed on this particular view. You'll notice the dates are a lot larger font, so it's easier to see which date you're working with. But if you do want to change your default view, you can see your view button at the top. Mine is default to week, but you can change that to a daily view, a month, a year, and I'll also show you the schedule. This, excuse me, is a nice feature as well because you can see what's coming up on your to-do list, not only for that day, but for upcoming days. So it's more like an agenda of what you have planned. So I'm going to revert back to our week view here, and I'm going to come back over to the left-hand side, and I'm going to start here and kind of work our way down and then across. But your preview pane is still available. You can advance your dates and your months by clicking on the forward arrow or go back in time, view a previous month with the back arrow. It will circle what the current date is. You can also choose, just like you could in the classic version, which calendars you want to view. So if I uncheck my business calendar, you'll see all those purple blocks disappear. If I check and activate Katie's calendar, you'll see them reappear and populate. And Donna's going to talk to you a little bit more about my calendars and other calendars later on today. Then if we come back to the top and work our way across, I do want to highlight settings. Don, again, is going to go into more detail regarding settings in just a little bit, but I wanted to highlight where they are and note that if you do want to revert back, this is where you can come to revert back to the classic calendar. Again, we don't encourage that. We want you to use the new interface to make sure everything's working properly. But if you do need to go back to the previous version, you can do so under settings. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is how to create an event. Now, there are several different ways that still work the same that you're used to. But what I'm going to show you primarily today is the new action button to create an event. It's that red circle with a plus sign located in the lower right-hand of your corner, right-hand corner of your screen. So you can click on that red button. It will open up your Create pane, and this is where you're going to type in all of your details regarding the event that you have to plan. So I'm just going to add testing event here and confirm the date and time of your event. And you can add a recurring event. So if you need this event to repeat on a regular basis, you can click on does not remain or their email address. And you'll see I've added several different people to this particular event. And you can hover over each guest to see additional information and details about that user. So you can click to see their profile. You can start an individual hangout with them, chat with them. schedule a different appointment, or email that guest individually. And one of the enhancements I was mentioning earlier is being able to schedule rooms and only see those that are available. So you'll see this particular feature shows available rooms only. So if I click on Avon Ferry, it will only display those rooms that are free between 1 and 1:50 this afternoon. Now, if I were to change this time and go back to Avon Ferry, you see the listing changes, because obviously some of those rooms are not available during that time. So it does reflect and change based on the day and time that you enter in your calendar event. All right, so I'm going to select Avon Ferry room 106. When I go back to guest, you'll see it's included as a guest, and it automatically populates the location field over on the left-hand side. So you don't have to retype that. Once you add that room as a guest, it will automatically update for you. I believe that is also a change from the classic layout. I do want to highlight find a time and suggested times. A lot of people also don't know about these features. They were available in the classic version. They've changed just a little bit in the new version as well. When you click on find a time, it will provide you with a daily view of all of your guest calendars, including the room. So you can easily see when everyone is available. If you do need to change the time of your event, you can do so. And just by clicking on the new time, it will also adjust and update your event details at the top of the edit screen. Suggested times is similar. It will kind of search all of your guest availability for you and list out the days and times when everyone can attend. And so if you wanted to change the event to one of these listed times, you could click on that date and it would update your details. A few other things I want to note here. The conferencing options have changed slightly. So if you want to add a hangout, you can click on the drop-down option and click Hangout. It will automatically create a name for your event. You can edit that if you want to. There are limited number of characters that you can incorporate, so just a heads up if you are changing that name. Once you confirm the name and save your event, all of your guests will be able to open up the event details and simply click on the name of your hangout and they can join that call. Now, when it comes to notifications, these will only impact you. The notifications don't go out to all of your guests. So that is a personal feature that you select, and you can add several notifications. If you wanted to add a pop-up notification for, let's say, 15 minutes before the meeting, and you want an email just to make sure you don't miss this particular event, you can continue to add them. I know we've added up to 10 in some of our testing, so it can probably go more than that, but hopefully you won't need that many reminders. But again, that will not impact your guest. It will just notify you. Also, you can decide and confirm which calendar you want to add this particular event to. You can also change the event color. This will not impact your calendar. It will only impact this particular event, and your guest will not see the color of this event. It will only display on your calendar. These are similar in the classic version as they are in the new interface, whether people can see this event on your calendar as for your busy, and if you want to make it a public event, private event, or remain default visibility. But I am extremely excited about the formatting options being added to the event description. So now you can add bold, italics, underline to any details that you want to add. You can also incorporate ordered list and bulleted list. And so I'll add a few things here. And you can add URLs and hyperlinks So if I wanted to include a website for people to visit, I can simply add a link there and folks can click and access that website. You're also able to add attachments very similarly as you could in the classic version. So you can click on the paperclip add attachment icon. You can search your Google Drive. You can upload files from your local machine. It also has a history of previously selected documents that you've used. So I'm going to click on this Google Doc. It's just a sample agenda and add that into my event details. And so now all of my guests can see what the agenda is. They can click to get more detailed information if they need to prepare for the meeting. This is a great place to put that information in those resources. And finally, just an added tip here that some of you may not be familiar with. It's the remove formatting option. And this particular feature, when you click on it, it will remove any of the formatting that you applied to text. And that's not only in Google Calendar, but this particular option is available throughout all of the G Suite apps. So if you're cutting and pasting from multiple sources into one document or into one application, and you want to clean all of that up, you can simply highlight and click on Remove Formatting. So just an added tip there for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save these changes. And I'm not going to send, it's best practice to send invitations to guests, but because it's a test event, I'm going to click on Don't Send. All right, so we added that event, let's see, over here on Monday the 22nd. And I changed the color so it is different from my default green. And the shortcut view, which allows you to see all of the details of an upcoming meeting, will show up when you simply click on the event. You'll see this pop up with all of the details. So now you see the date, the time, the location. If there is a hangout, you can simply click Join Meeting and all of your guests can be directed to the same hangout. You can see all of your guests and whether or not they've accepted the invitation or not. Again, you can hover over all of your guests and see more information and how to contact them individually. You'll also see the description, any details, any attachments, links, and you'll see your notification settings. A few other things I want to highlight here in this quick view. If you do change your mind and you need to delete the event, you have a quick button here to trash that event, and it will remove not only from your calendar, but it will be removed from all of your guest calendar as well, since you are the organizer. You can also email your guests. So if there is a change of plans or something that you need to send in advance to everyone, that's a very easy way to communicate with all of the participants. And there is an options menu that will provide you some additional actions here. So you can print details of this event, you can duplicate this event, you can copy to a different calendar that you have managing access to, you can publish, and you can change the owner, all from this quick view. And if you do need to make any changes to your event, you can simply click on the pencil that allows you to make changes and edit. One final feature that I wanted to highlight regarding the new interface is search. So the searching options have changed just a little bit in the new interface. If you look at the top part of your interface here, of your calendar, you'll see the magnifying glass that allows you to search for events. So if I wanted to search for all of the events that have staff meeting in the topic or in the title, I will see all of the results show up here. The nice thing is you can filter and you can do some custom searching through variables. So if you wanted to search in all of your calendars, if you wanted to look for a particular participant or a particular room, or for events that don't contain certain keywords, you can do that too. And you can search within a certain date range. So I really like that option, especially with training events. We have several events that I'm trying to locate, and I can specify a certain date range and not have to look for 5 years, or through 5 years of results. So once you have all of your variables, you can click on search and it will limit your results. So I really am pleased to see those changes in the new version. Okay, so I believe I have covered all of my topics, and now I'm going to hand it over to Don, and he's going to take a closer look at settings and some other calendar features.
Good lunchtime to everyone. I hope you're enjoying Katie's presentation so far. What I'd like to do now for the next few minutes is go over 3 things. The first thing is over here on the left toolbar, how to add various calendars to your account here. Then I would like to talk about some settings options we have up here. These are general settings for your account. And then lastly, some specific settings for an individual calendar. So we'll manage those over there. So let's just jump right in and get started. How to add another calendar to your calendar. The first option is to add a coworker's calendar. If I wanted to add mine, I would just click on there, and there you go. It's as simple as that. The other good news about this is it's not restricted to the NC State domain. So if you need to view calendars or access calendars outside of the domain you're working with someone else off campus or whatever, if they have a Google Calendar, you can just add it right in. If you're following along right now, go ahead and put your boss's calendar on there, or a coworker's calendar, or even your home calendar if you have a personal Google account as well. So it's as simple as that. The next option is to add a new calendar. And we want you to use this as much as you want. You can create numerous calendars all on your own. So if I've been assigned to Project X and I want to put a new calendar out there, I just put the name of the calendar in, add the description. It shows me the time zone of the days and what domain it's in. And create a new calendar. And watch what happens right over here. You can see now I have the new Project X calendar, and it just treats it like another calendar that I can do anything I want to. Post things to it, invite things to it, that type of thing. So create all the new calendars you want. If you're involved in activities, events, whatever, go ahead and use that as well. The next option is to browse resources. And what we've done is we've set up, these are mostly rooms and facilities for you on campus, but other things can be added as well. These are the official university building abbreviation codes. AFH means Ament Ferry building over there. There's Administrative Services 1, Administrative Services 2. And then you can see the different rooms in there that are available. So you can see in Ament Ferry, I've added room 110 over there, and you can see over there, it's on my list of things that I can view. In terms of calendars, there's 2 categories of calendars. There are My Calendars, which are these right here. Those are the calendars which you either own or you have been granted permissions or authorities to go in and manage or been delegated various permissions to. And then we have other calendars down here. And these are generally only those calendars which you have view permissions. You can just look at nothing else. The next option is to browse interesting calendars. And there's 3 categories here. The first one is the holidays calendar. So you can subscribe to the various calendars up here just simply by clicking on it. If you don't want to subscribe to it, click it off or turn it on or off from there. Then there's sports activities down here. Well, we're right in the height of basketball season, so if you're interested in basketball, you can come down here and I'm following some of the men's basketball teams, and when you turn that on, you can see there's quite a few of them down there. And I selected North Carolina State University as one of my options over here, and you can see it's over here on that. You just simply subscribe to it by clicking on it, or unsubscribe by clicking off of it over there. And then you can go to other activities as well. The last category down here are other, Do you want to add phases of the moon to your calendar or week numbers? And sometimes that's kind of handy to have week numbers on your calendar. The next option is to browse from URL. You can add a new calendar by knowing its URL. I'll show you when we go into settings how you can find that URL, but every calendar has its own URL. You simply find out what it is, plug it in there, and you'll be subscribing to that calendar. And the last option down here is to import or export calendars. If you click on that, you can, if you are importing a calendar from somewhere else, you were in Outlook and you want to move all your calendars over here, you've gone to Outlook and in their settings over there, you've saved it and you've put it somewhere where you just navigate to wherever you put it and click on it here and it'll import it into your Google Calendar. You can also export calendars, so you can come down here and select a calendar and decide if you want to export it or not, and it will, as you can see down here, just exported it and you save it somewhere and then you can import it some other location. So exporting and importing are great, especially if you move around or you've got other calendars that you, from other things that you subscribe to that you want to share with your Google Calendar. So those are the main ways that you can add calendars and create calendars in your Google Calendar. So now let me move over here to our general settings, and these are the settings for your account. And I'm going to do this from the bottom to the top. Down at the bottom where it says Help, this takes you straight to the Google Help Center for the calendar, and there's a variety of menus that you can rummage around through. These are all accordion menus that you can go up and down. Or if you're looking for something specific, you can just type it in and go straight to it. It gives you all the answers for what you want. The next option over here is to send feedback. Now this is in case you have come across something in Google Calendar you don't like or want to suggest an improvement for, you just want to request a new feature or function. You click on Send Feedback. And by the way, this is available in all the other Google apps as well, no matter what service you're using, Gmail, Calendar, Slides, Docs, anything else. You just click on that and it'll send that. Now what it does, it takes a snapshot of the page that you're on, because it's assuming that the page that you're looking at is the one that you're having the issue with. And then you come up here and you type in your description of what the issue is that you're asking them to address. And by the way, this has been done from here on our campus and some of the issues have been resolved. So we know it does work. So that's a good feature to have. The next option is go back to Classic Calendar, as Katie mentioned earlier. Once you've gone to the new calendar, we kind of suggest that you just stay with it. If you switch back and forth between them, you might confuse yourself, but you're welcome to if you want to, but I've not found it necessary to go back yet at all. The next option is Print, and this will give you a very nice print of your calendar and whichever view that you want to look at. You can also look at it in the different sizes. You can change your background. Do some other print setups as well. You can do the font size. You can do the orientation, portrait, landscape. Let it automatically pick out what you want. You can set your range dates for what time period you want your calendar to be printed out. The next option, this is brand new, is density and color. If you select this, you get two options down here. One is to set it automatically responsive to your screen. So if you're using a phone or a tablet or a big screen or whatever, it will automatically adjust to the size of your screen. And that's what most people will leave it at anyway. And then you have the compact option, which is just a smaller version of it. But the pretty thing over here is on the right side, is you can select a classic, which brings you back to the view that you had before we switched to the new calendar interface, or you can use the new modern one. And after you get used to it, the new modern one is actually a little bit easier to read, at least on my eyes, it's a lot easier to read. But you can switch back and forth as you see fit. Now, the next thing is the trash option. If you remove an event from your calendar, you trash it, you put it in the trash, it will save it for 30 days in your trash bin. And there it is in your trash bin. And you can come back here and look at it. Remember, it's only 30 days. It says that right up here at the top. And you can come back up here, and I have several options. I can highlight it. I can remove it forever, delete it permanently, or I can restore it back to the calendar. And you can see back here, it's been put back on the calendar. There it is. Earlier this morning, I removed these 3 other events, and I can come down here and select all 3 of them and then do a group restore. And now if I come back over here, you can see that they've all been restored. There's the one, and if I trash it, there's the other one, I can trash it. There's the other one, I can trash it. And then come back up here and look at trash, and there they are for 30 more days. Nice feature to have in case you remove something that you would kind of like to have back. Then finally, up here on the general settings, we have our settings category. Now remember, these are general settings for the accounts. There's 2 ways to get to it. They're all divided into categories. That's what these blocks over here that you scroll up and down look for. But those same categories are listed over here. So if you were just interested in one specific thing that you want to change, you can just go over there, or you can come back up to the top, or you can go to any one that you want, or you can just start at the top and work your way down. Some of these are fairly self-explanatory, so it won't spend any time on it. You know what language you use, what country you're in, and your time format, whether you want the 24-hour clock or the 12-hour clock. The time zones, it will automatically detect where you are and set you up for the Eastern time zone. And you can change the label if you want to, whatever you want to use. You can add another one if you want to. If you come up here and set a secondary time, let's say you're dealing with somebody out on the West Coast frequently or something like that, you can come up here and select Pacific time zone. And then once you've got that set up, you come back here and you can see right over here next to your calendar, I've got my Eastern calendar and my Pacific calendar. So as I'm setting up an event with someone, I can kind of look to see where they are on the timeline as well as where I am on the timeline. So you can see right here, we're a little after 12:30 here, but they're a little after 9:30 over there. The next option is the world clock down here. And if you want to show other time zones on your calendar as well, you can set it. Maybe I'm dealing with somebody in Thule, Greenland, or working on a contract with them or something like that. So if I set that up, I can come over here, and now way over here on the left, I can see my time zone, the Eastern time zone, and Thule's time zone, what they are over there. And any time that I want to, I can either add more or change it. I can get rid of those down there, and I can come back up here and rid of those as well down there. All right, on event settings, you have several options over here. When you click on creating a new event, you can set the default for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and all the way up to 120 minutes. And that's what will be your default every time you create a new event. Now, there's another option here called speedy meetings. A lot of people go to meetings back to back to back. So you can see I had my default set to 30 minutes, but when I turn my speedy meetings on, it bumps it back to 50 minutes. So that gives me 10 minutes to get out of this meeting and get on the move down to my next meeting. If I went for one shorter, it would jump it down to 5 minutes less. Anything over an hour, it cuts it down 10 minutes. Anything under an hour, cuts it down by 5 minutes. All right, I can invite, allow my guests some certain privileges on my calendar. I can allow anybody on my guest list to modify this event. So anybody that's on the guest list now can come in there and change time, date, location, make attachments, do anything they want. They're basically co-owners. I can allow anyone on the guest list to also invite other people. Maybe I'm setting up an event and someone can't make it, but their office mate would like to come, so they can just say no to their invitation and go up to the invite list and add another guest and invite someone else to come on their behalf or come along with them. You can also allow guests to see the guest list or not see the guest list. There are certain circumstances under which you might not want people to see who else is coming to the event. Maybe it's a bidders conference or something else going on where you don't want anybody to know who else is coming. So you can do that as well. All right, under your view options down here, you can show weekends on your calendar, yea or nay. There's quite a few people that this is their work calendar. They only work from Monday through Friday, so they're not interested in having Saturdays and Sundays show up on their calendar. You can show declined events. I like that because if I get invited to an event that I can't attend because I have a conflict, then I'll say show declined events, and it will post it out there on my calendar. It'll be clear, and it'll have a strike through to it, but I'll know it's there. So if my other event falls through, then I can go back and look at my calendar and open it up and change my response from no to maybe or yes. Very handy to have. I can reduce brightness for past events. We've all seen that once the timeline is passed for an event, it fades out. If you don't like that, if you want it to be bright all the time, you can turn that off and keep it bright all the time. And I can also, in the day view, turn on or off to see calendars side by side. Once you get the hang of that, you're really going to find that to be very productive and very helpful to leave that on. You can also decide when you want your week to start. You can set custom days here if you want to, if you have a custom calendar. We have some people that work 4 days, 12-hour shifts a day, and set their calendar up appropriately. I can add alternate calendars if I want to. Like we did for the holidays, it puts it across the top of your screen. If you select one of these other calendars, it will just overlay that, so you get to see 2 sets of them up there. It won't interfere with your events or anything like that. The next item down here is events from Gmail. This is really handy. I strongly suggest that you leave it on. And if you are in Gmail, here is an event up here that Katie sent me earlier today that says, let's get together sometime to talk about training. Well, I want to add that to my calendar, but I don't want to go through all the hassle cutting and pasting and open the calendar and stuff like that. So with the message open, I can come up here to more and say create an event. And it'll open my event manager, and I just go ahead and do this. Now, let me warn you about doing this. There's a couple of things that you need to be mindful about when you do that. The first thing that's really great is it copies over all the body of the email over to you. And that's really what you want. That's very helpful and friendly to do that. The second thing is up here is it will copy the title from the subject of the email. So that may or may not be how you want to title your meeting, but you can just go in there and change it anytime that you want to. The next thing is the date and time will be copied from the time the email was received by your Gmail account. So that may not be the time that you want the meeting or the date that you want the meeting. So you go in there and edit that. A couple of other things is if that email was sent out to all 10 people, then all 10 people will be added to the guest list over here. And again, that may or may not be the guest list that you want for this event. So you can come over here and edit that. Now remember, if there was a sent out to a group, then the group will be invited too. So you just need to be careful to look over these things. A couple of other things is it will add to the calendar that you're currently signed on as. So it'll add it to that. So, but that's a real handy tool. I use it all the time.
Donna, quick question regarding creating events from Gmail. Do you know if the time that populates that event always defaults to an hour? or should it default to what you have set up as your default meeting time in your settings?
I haven't paid real close attention to that, but I believe what happens is it begins at the default of the time the email is received. And then if you have your default set up for 1 hour or 2 hour, then it will add to that time, the 1 hour to 2 hour.
Okay.
Don't take me to court on that. So,
Well, one of our user or participants said that she has her meetings default to 30 minutes. So she has that set under her setting configurations. But when she creates an event from her Gmail, it defaults to an hour long.
okay.
So that might be something that you just have to pay close attention to when you're using that particular
Yeah.
feature.
And that's what I do, Katie. Every time I create one from Gmail, I go over it very carefully, make sure that the time, the date, the titles, the guest list, the calendars and everything are all set up. And you can also go in there and modify the description if you want to.
Very good.
But thanks for pointing that out. By the way, someone else asked too earlier, when you're editing the description and you hit the clear editing format, if I hit it again, will it come back? And the answer is no, but you can always hit the undo button and it'll put it back. Or the Control X or Control Z button, and it'll put it back. Keep scheduling. I'm a part-timer, only work 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 1. So I've plugged that in there and I'll let everybody know what it is. So if someone were to schedule me for an event at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when they hit the save button, they'll get a pop-up that says that's outside of Don's normal working hours. And then you decide what you want to do, go on without me or find another time or do whatever you want. But it'll just let you know if someone is not available, it'll let you know. Okay, and then very quickly down here, the mobile keyboard shortcuts, how that works is if you're a keyboard shortcut user, and I am, if you're in the main area, you just hit Shift ? Or Command ? And it will bring up your shortcuts over here. That works in all the other servers as well. I'm here in Gmail. If I hit the Shift ? Then I get to see all of the shortcut options there as well. The last thing down here, the mobile setups, we're not going to go over in detail now because there's too many operating systems, too many devices, too many carriers involved, but you can click down here and learn more about it and how to do it. Sometimes you might need a techie person or contact your service provider to do that. So that's it for the general settings. The very last thing I want to show you here, and by the way, we're not covering everything, we're just covering the highlights, is on any individual calendar, I have options as well. So I'm going to hover over this one and hit the 3 dots, which always means more, and look at the settings for this calendar. And I can change the name of it, add a description if I want to, do these things that we talked about earlier. Who can see my calendar? Making it public means it's available to anybody on the internet, but I have the option, and they can find it with search engines too. I have the option of showing only free and busy time or allow them to see event details. Or I can come down here and share it only with folks inside our domain, which is North Carolina State University, and they can find it with search engine inside there as well. And I can show them free and busy time or event details. Another thing that I can do is I can get a shareable link. Every calendar has its own unique address, URL address. And if I copy that and come over here and paste it in a new window, you can see it brings up my calendar. So there's a very quick and easy way for you to share your calendar with other folks. I can share with specific people. If I want to share this calendar with Katie, I can just add Katie on. Now remember, this can be a group name too. It doesn't have to be an individual. It can be a group name. You can put it in there, a Google group or whatever. And I'm going to allow Katie to share on my calendar, and I can allow her these 4 options right here. See free and busy times, the event details, only make changes to events, or allow her to be co-owner. And this is fairly popular here on campus where there are co-owners. Think, for example, it's an executive assistant relationship where the dean says to the to the assistant, you take care of my routine calendar for me. That's how you do it right there. That's pretty much the same as it was in the old one. The options are, the interface is a little bit different. Event notifications. Again, for this particular calendar, I can add new notifications if I want to. I can send myself an email an hour ahead of time, in addition to the one that I'm going to get 10 minutes ahead of time. Same thing with all day notifications. So maybe I'm going to be out of the office all day tomorrow. So what I'll do is I'll send myself an email 1 day ahead of time to know not to bother to go to the office tomorrow. The next category down here, general notifications. Under new events, here's where you indicate whether or not you want to receive an email every time something new event is added to your calendar. If you say no, it will still be added to your calendar, but you will not get the email notifying you about it and give you that chance to say yes, no, or maybe. Same thing with changed events. If you're scheduled for an event, somebody changes the time and the location or adds something to it, anytime they make a change to it, do you want to be notified by email, yes or no? Same thing with canceled events. Event responses, generally we say no or none to that, because what will happen is every time somebody touches it, you'll get an email. You set up an event with 30 people coming to it. Every time somebody says yes, you get email. Every time somebody says no, you get email. Every time somebody changes their mind, say email, and all it drives you crazy. And then the daily agenda. Remember earlier, Katie showed you the agenda view. Well, what happens if you turn this on is at 5 o'clock every morning, every morning you will get an email that it contains in the body of your agenda for today's events. We have several people here in our organization use that, some of our managers. So in the morning while they're getting ready to go to work or having their coffee, they just open up their email and say, what's on my calendar for today? Look at their email to see it. They work at a lot of different locations and they have meetings or house calls at different locations. So they can say, well, I'm not going to drive to this building today, I'll drive to the other one. And then down here, the next category is how to integrate or share your calendar with other folks. Well, here's another place where you can get the URL for this calendar. Another thing that people want to do with their calendar frequently is embed their calendar inside a website or a web page or make reference to it somewhere else. Well, this right here is the code that you use to embed your calendar inside of a web page. And this takes either someone that knows their web skills and has a web development tool, whether it be WordPress or Dreamweaver or something like that. You can also customize it. So maybe the calendar, the way it looks right now, doesn't fit your theme of your website. Well, you can come up here and see this code up here. Watch this. As I turn these things on and off, it will actually change that code up there. I come down here and change the size of it, it'll change it as well, and all that code is changed. So this is the code that your web person or you use in your web tool to get it inside your web page. Two other options down here is how to get your calendar in the iCal format, 2 versions of that. And lastly, you can remove your calendars. So if you have a bunch of calendars over here and you want to get rid of them, you highlight it and click on delete or remove down here, and it's gone. You cannot remove your primary calendar. That's this one right here, always the top one under my calendars. That's one that you cannot remove. And the last thing I want to finish up with is if you also want to remove a calendar, I'm finished with Don. He does not need to see his calendar anymore. I just remove it right there and it's gone. And let me warn you, that is it's too easy to do. And generally it's not going to give you a warning. But if I hit Control Z real quick, sometimes I can get it back. Well, that's my part of it for today. I hope that helps a little bit, and maybe we'll see you in some of the classes. And now back to Katie.
All right, thanks so much, Don. We hope you've enjoyed this closer look as we took a deeper dive into the new Google Calendar interface. We're thrilled again that it's rolling out to campus. We do want to provide a few reminders for those who may have joined us late. Again, those important dates to be aware of. As of yesterday, the new interface will start rolling out as default for NC State users. That is, if you haven't already opted out of using the new interface. And you do have the ability to revert back to the classic version. But again, we are really encouraging everyone to start using the new version to make sure everything is working as expected. Again, if you do run into any issues, contact the help desk, 515-HELP, or help@ncsu.edu. We do have additional training opportunities for the new calendar. You can register via Reporter. I believe the January session may be full, but we do have a wait list and people do cancel at the last minute. So I would highly encourage you to go ahead and put yourself on that wait list or look at the February instance. There are additional resources if you want to learn a little bit more about the new calendar. They have several Google links here that are extremely helpful. They do a great job keeping their resources up to date. We also have some NC State specific links for you as well if you're interested in learning a little bit more about how the new calendar works with the NC State environment. All right, I'm going to do a double take over at the Q&A document, but I think we have answered all of the previous questions. We still have just a minute or two. I know we're running past the 1 o'clock hour, but I'll keep my eye on the document. If there are any last minute questions, feel free to type those there. If you are interested in referencing the slides, I know there's limited slides. We did a lot out on the web in our live demo, but you can access the presentation at go.ncsu.edu/newcalendarytl. And the recording will also be available on YouTube from the Google service team Google Plus account. If you haven't circled up with us, I encourage you to do so. If you're interested in other training for OIT and regarding technology topics, we have a packed agenda for January. You can see everything that we have coming up. You should be able to register out in Reporter, and you can access all of the technology specific courses in Reporter by going to go.ncsu.edu/learnit. That will take you directly to technology offerings in Reporter. So we hope to see you in person and online, as we do offer several YouTube Live and online sessions throughout the year. We do want to keep in touch with you. We want y'all to stay connected with the OIT training team and with OIT in general. You can do so via social media. We have several Twitter accounts that you can follow. Again, we have our Google Plus profile for the NC State Google Services team, where we try to keep everyone up to date with new features and just different ways of using Google here at NC State. There's our Reporter link again for our workshop offerings. We do offer custom classes. A lot of people also aren't aware that we will be happy to come to your location if you're unable to visit the OIT training facilities over in Avent Ferry or attend one of our workshops. If you have at least 5 people who will participate, we will be glad to send one of our trainers over to you. So feel free to click on that link and fill out the custom training form. And just a reminder for that evaluation, if you click on the link in the Q&A document, we would love to hear your feedback for your experience today. Let us know what you think about YouTube Live. And again, I apologize for those technical difficulties earlier. Hopefully we got all of those worked out quickly for everyone. And again, let us know what other sessions you would like to see us offer in the next year. And contact the training team directly at classreg@ncsu.edu. We would love to hear from you. All right, well, that concludes our session on the new Google Calendar. We hope you will enjoy the new interface. Let us know what you think. And if you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to the help desk. They have very knowledgeable staff there who will be able to help you and troubleshoot any issues. So definitely stay in touch. And we hope you enjoy it and that you have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks so much and take care.